Hello everybody and welcome back to Sorcerer's Workshop, where we are always cooking up something new for you to use in your next D&D adventure. This week we are once again carrying on with our making the Beholder Kin, and this week I have for you the Death Tyrant. This was quite a fun miniature to make, but let's give you a quick overview of it and then let's get into it. So we are quickly time-lapsing the sort of moulding of at least the top half of the skull. I start with, once again, a medium-sized polystyrene ball before sort of moulding it into a sort of a skull shape. I cut off the bottom maybe third, I would say, and then continue sort of sculpting it like this, cutting off the sides a bit to make it not quite circular, but more sort of oval shaped, I would say, making indentions in the head, to make it sort of the skull sort of area, and then I mark out where I want the eye to be and make a big old gaping hole with the knife. That's what I am doing currently. So make it sort of circular, but doesn't have to be perfect as well. So once that is all done, I'll give you a little look-see at it before, there we are, before we add the jaw, which is the sort of the bone jaw. We'll be using XPS foam for this, just because it's easy, and we want sort of pieces that are about a little bit longer than your fingernail, maybe double the size of your fingernail. I also had some sort of side bits, which just sort of boost the side out and add to it. So after that, we are going to make the bottom of the jaw, and also add some sort of spikes to the jaw, just like this. Hot glue it up to add a bit of texture, and that is all we need for the actual base sort of sculpture of the Death Tyrant. You see, it looks a bit strange right now, a bit sort of rectangular, but using a new technique which I used for the Bahir in the previous video, which I really liked, so I thought I'd use it for this instead. That's why I was a bit rougher with the sort of cutting and everything. It really makes it look really nice. The technique that I used, of course, was to get a little bit of paper towel, a little bit of toilet paper, whatever you have at hand, and then some really watered down glue, and just cover the whole thing. It leaves a really smooth coat all over the model, and then also adds sort of little hide textures, little sort of in this you could call them not quite veins, but like just grooves in the skull, which really makes it look really nice, and also blends it all into one thing, so you don't have sort of mold lines. Well, they're not mold lines, but they're sort of like mold lines. So I'll just show you a bit here, but it doesn't take too long, and give it maybe about 8 hours to sort of dry fully, and then you can go onto it. So here it is fully done. As you can see, the rectangular hole that we had has now become a lot more circular, and it also just covers it all up. The sides sort of aren't jutting out as much. They've been smoothed off a little bit, and it looks really nice. And yeah, that's what makes it so simple. I add teeth now, these big sharp long teeth out of XPS foam. I don't cover those because I don't want them looking the same texture. It will just look a bit weird like that. The teeth are different like that. And then what would a Death Tyrant be without its floating orbs? Now, of course, we can't make the orbs actually floating because I'm not a magician. So what we did instead was get just plain straight white wire and put a sort of a circle of hot glue at the end, which will be painted out and just stuck in at various angles. Now on to painting. The first layer, the overall layer, is this color, which is a mixture of a tan and a burnt umber to make this sort of light brown color. I go all over the model, except for the teeth and the sort of the stalks, but they're not on it at the moment. So this is covering it just to, because, you know, it's already white, but if I just painted it white, it would look good, but I wanted to make it look like it was a rotting white. It's not a zombie beholder, but it's an undead beholder. So it's got this sort of underlying sort of brown color that we'll have, which will make it look sort of rotting. Now, you see what I mean? It looks very not like a Death Tyrant there. You're thinking, what? That looks terrible. But just trust me on this one. Just trust me. So the next thing is to get this, which is a white with a sort of a little bit of tan, and don't dry brush it, don't cover it, but do a sort of in between, like a very a rushed paint job is what I would say. So you're getting everywhere, but not quite everywhere. Then a white dry brush, or two. I did 2 white dry brushes, and that's all you need to do for the skull. If some areas touch up them a little bit again, it looks quite brown here. That's just because the light, trust me, it isn't actually that. It is quite a nice, pleasant white color. Talking of white, we're going to do the teeth now, and we're going to do them completely white. And also this helps with the, make sure to get the back of the teeth as well. Doing them really white helps to really add to the color of the skull, because if they're the same color as the skull, it's just going to look like a mess. But if you do them the white, then the off-white of the skull will really add an effect. So you can see how the paper towel really adds a nice effect to it. Like some areas are darker than others, and some are a lot lighter. So now we are going to do the Eyestalks. So for this, you could do a few different colors. I did sort of a crimson color because I thought like the red eye, evil, you know, I thought it would look good. You could also do sort of a pink or a magenta. I was tossing up between a magenta and red, but I thought the red worked better in the end. And I think it would have worked better than the magenta. I think it sort of would have looked too pink. So just go completely over this. Try not to get the stalk, because the stalks are supposed to be white, which is invisible for my, I make all the sort of the wire stands where all the floating miniatures are, like we did for the Beholder and the Spectator. White is invisible for me, which sounds a bit weird, but anyway. Now, they're not quite done. What we want to do, the final tiny little bit, is get a really fine paintbrush and to put a little white dot on it to represent the iris, or just something that is looking like a really tiny dot. We don't want to do like a black dot inside. It's just floating orbs, and they've got some way to see. I don't know. Something like that. It looks better. So now we're just going to attach them. So I'll place in the large one, and then I'll give you the final sort of spin at the end of the video. But that's basically it. Very simple. Well, fairly simple, fairly straightforward. But so hot gluing in the main ones, but I just glue in the others with normal craft glue. So like that. Alright, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you very much, and goodbye.